There's a road for Chase Young to win the Heisman Trophy. There is a road. It hasn't been done by a straight-up defensive player. The closest we get is Charles Woodson, who went both ways and was just a dynamic football player. But there is a road for Chase Young to do it. Problem that we have with that isn't that Manti Te'o is in the same hemisphere, because he got close, but he didn't get as close as the Ndamukong Suh. Many of y'all remember 10 years ago, the most dominant football player in all of college football was Nebraska defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh, who nearly destroyed Texas by his damn self. All right? Like, Nebraska was going at my man's chest. And yet Ndamukong Suh was eating up Texas offensive line, shredded in half, tearing it, throwing it into bits. He was the truth. I believe Chase Young is the ghost of Hellraiser past Ndamukong Suh, because the man is just that remarkable. Now, what's the road? The road is for him to get 3, 4, 5 sack lunches against Shea Patterson. Okay? The road for him is to roll up that Wolverine backfield. The road for him is to stop things with tackles for loss. The road for him is to once again do what he did against Penn State. Okay? Show everybody, I am the most dominant football player on this football field. I don't need the ball to do that. The Heisman Trophy is a give me the ball trophy. Okay? It doesn't really respect great football players. It just respects the ones that get handed the football. Okay? Don't necessarily think that's what makes a great football player. And that's one of my big criticisms of the Heisman Trophy, like a lot of folks, right? We don't believe that it should just be an offensive football award. Basically a running back and quarterback award, if we're being quite honest about it, and more of a quarterback award than a running back award. However, if, for whatever reason, Jalen Hurts plays like he played against Texas Christian, where, yeah, he rushes for 173 yards and 28 carries. He also went 11 of 21 for 145, which is the fewest amount of passing yards by an OU quarterback since Trevor Knight in the aforementioned Russell Athletic Bowl. That's not a good look. You don't really want to be in the same sentence with Trevor Knight unless you're talking about Sugar Bowls. Okay? That's just what it is. We also know that if Joe Burrow gets the clamps put down on him by Texas A&M, or even by Georgia, to be quite honest, he could play his way out of winning the Heisman Trophy, for which many people believe he is a shoo-in. All right? All he has to do is continue to do what he's been doing. And what he's been doing has been elite, been greatly efficient. And, of course, the way that he tore apart Alabama's defense, such as it was, with a bunch of puppies in the front seven, with Terrell Lewis having to move from outside linebacker to inside linebacker because that's just how bad Shane Lee and Christian Harris were playing. You understand where I'm going with this, right? But he did beat up Florida, and he did beat up Auburn, and that should matter. To say nothing of beating up probably a Texas team that played its best football back in September. Okay? We could also talk about Justin Fields and how he hasn't done enough to win the award. He's done enough to stay in the running for the award. But because Justin Fields feels like more of a compliment to Ohio State's offense rather than the focal point of Ohio State's offense, which I think is what a quarterback is supposed to be and who this quarterback is supposed to be all the time, it's working against him, because we would all want our quarterbacks to operate like Justin Fields does, which is to say, get the ball out to the playmakers, and when the playmakers can't make plays, you go make a play, right? You are a point guard. You are a distributor of the ball. And when the ball cannot be distributed, you make something happen, you get your own shot, right? Problem is, Jalen Hurts is much more the focal point of the offense, so much so that Mike Gundy called him a wishbone quarterback at Oklahoma, and he is responsible for over 400 yards of offense for Oklahoma. And Oklahoma's averaging like 560, 570, closer to like 580 yards of offense a game, which is another way of saying when they've been running the ball, it's been him running the ball, right? And, of course, he's the only person passing the football out there, too. And then we get to talk about, say, Chuba Hubbard, who's just having the best season that anybody's seen from a running back in some time. Over 1,800 yards rushing on a top 25 Oklahoma State team, never mind that they're a 3-loss team. And that's really what hurts him, right? Is that Oklahoma State has been great. But if he goes off against OU, he's certainly there. I just don't think he can do enough to win it. Whereas we're trending toward Chase Young because we're talking about Chase Young. I haven't seen anybody talk this much about a defensive player since Manti Te'o. And because Manti Te'o played at Notre Dame, I think he got a lot more exposure than he should have. And because Manti Te'o was a middle linebacker on a 2012 Notre Dame defense to put the clamps on one of the best offenses in football at Oklahoma in Norman in 2012, back when Bob Diaco was still calling absolutely amazing defense. Also, he had one hell of a corner this year in Amik Robertson, and he was able to put that dude in great situations. Maybe Bob Diaco just needs to be coordinating defenses and not in front of microphones, okay? But I could see all these things working for Chase Young, where he has an outstanding display against an outstanding Michigan football program, right? Top 10, according to some, top 25 in the college football playoff poll, right? I think he could absolutely terrorize whomever they play in the Big Ten championship, because we saw what he did against Wisconsin, and we know that he probably would eat Minnesota alive. And then that's that, right? I mean, it's his award. Now, we know that the College Football Award Show is December 12th, which will be after conference championship. So hopefully everybody will wait on casting their votes until after that, because that's, I think, how Kyler Murray won it last year, in a year in which Tua Tagovailoa felt like the leader all the way up until he had to be relieved of his duties for his bad ankle. And then Jalen Hurts comes in and saves the SEC championship game for Alabama and puts him in a position to go and beat Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl and, of course, play for a national championship, for which they got destroyed. But there's a role for Chase Young here, and I think we should respect that. I think we should wait for him to actually go play some football before we start crowning Joe Burrow, even as people just want to say, because LSU has discovered the forward pass this year, that Joe Burrow should be your Heisman Trophy winner. I'm not with that. That's just me. All right, check the chat.